You are watching RTA in Japan Winter 2025, the English Restream. My name is Bobby Blackwolf. I'm thrilled to continue hosting here this evening, this afternoon, this morning, wherever you are in the world. Coming up next, we have Castlevania, Lament of Innocence, any percent crazy. And thankfully, we have somebody here to tell us all about it. Puwexil, why don't you introduce yourself?
All right, hello everybody. Greetings, whatever time zone you're in. It's coming up on midnight in mine, which is perfect for a Castlevania run, in my opinion. So yeah, I've got the first Castlevania game for the PlayStation 2 coming up, called Lament of Innocence in North America, but in Japan and Europe, it's just called Castlevania with no subtitles, since it's sort of a prequel / reboot that's kind of it's story-wise intended to explain the origins of the Belmont family's conflict with Count Dracula.
What type of things are we going to be seeing through this run? What should we be kind of looking out for?
Sure. Well, if people are mostly familiar with like both newer and older Castlevania games, that are more like 2D side-scrolling action or Metroidvania games. Lament of Innocence is a 3D action game. It was Konami's kind of first their first go at a 3D Castlevania game since the Nintendo 64 era. And yeah, it's a really fast-paced, wild run that uses both a lot of kind of cool combat text, but some very interesting glitches too that we'll be seeing pretty soon after the run starts. And this is also going to be on Crazy Mode, which is this game's hard mode. I forget if you actually need to finish the game in order to play Crazy Mode, but you're very much intended to, because Crazy Mode nerfs your main character Leon Belmont's stats and combat capabilities a fair bit, and also gives you more enemies and more challenging enemies. So yeah, it looks like Slimaxim, the runner, who's the record holder for this category, as far as I know, is getting off. So fortunately, cutscenes are all skippable in this game, so we're just going to be seeing straight up action. But just kind of the short version is that you are Leon Belmont, who's a former baron whose fiancée Sarah was kidnapped by an evil vampire with the oh so sinister name of Walter. That always gives me a bit of a chuckle that the vampire villain of Castlevania here is just named Walter. And he quickly meets an alchemist named Ronaldo, who gives him a magic whip and gauntlet with the powers to fight the undead. So Leon enters Walter's castle and then immediately goes into this set of tutorials here. I believe in Crazy Mode it is actually possible to skip this. Like I don't think you have like the door that normally you have to clear these tutorials to unlock is just unlocked from the get-go. But Slimaxim is coming into this tutorial area anyway. Like in that room, he was guarding against some of the enemy's attacks to fill up his MP bar, and then he's also picking up some healing items and hearts too. And the healing items are kind of are going to function as his seed money as part of a fairly major glitch he's about to do after he gets out here, which is item duplication. You have a lot of consumable items and accessories you can pick up in this game, but in the Japanese and North American versions of the game, there's a bit of debug code or something that Konami just kind of forgot to took out, although they eventually did for the European PAL version of the game. But yeah, he's just doing it now here, where in certain hallways in the castle, like this one he's in right here, if you just open your item menu and pass the cursor over either a consumable item or a piece of equipment, you'll get another instance of it. So he just kind of scrolled his cursor around to duplicate all of the potions and status cure items that he picked up in the tutorial segment. Then he's also grabbing a save here. This isn't for safety or anything. This is actually part of the speedrun routing, because one of the items he's going to be using is called a memorial ticket, which lets you warp back to the last save point you saved at. And then there's also a magical ticket, which lets you warp to Ronaldo's house, which is the shop in this game. So Slimaxim is going to be selling off all but one of the items he has to get some seed money, basically. Not going to sell all of them because he needs to retain one unit of each item in order to duplicate more of them. And I guess another important thing to point out about crazy mode too is that you have a stricter limit on items too. In normal mode, you can hold up to 9 of each type of item, but in crazy mode, you can only hold up to 5. In addition to Leon's stats, some of Leon's stats being lower too, like his max heart capacity and strength and intelligence stats that affect damage calculations. So Slimaxim just used the memorial ticket to go back to the save point, and then used the duplication glitch again, which again you just need to be standing at a very specific point in some hallways in the castle, and then just open your inventory and scroll through it to duplicate items. So he's just kind of doing a couple loops of duplication right at the start here in order to just accumulate enough money to start buying some items that are actually useful offensively, in addition to restoratives and fast travel items here. So again, we're selling 4 of each stack, but keeping 1 so we can duplicate more. He also bought his first type of jewel too, is Zircon. There's we'll be getting into jewels in I don't know, maybe like 10-15 minutes or so, because those are very, very important. But anyway, so now we're getting into the hub for the castle here. I like to think of Lament of Innocence being structured kind of like a Mega Man game, where you have 5 areas of Walter's castle that you need to explore and defeat a boss at the end of each one. And you can do them in any order, and each boss you defeat gives you an orb that kind of gives you upgraded special attacks for some of your weapons. And then once you've defeated all 5 Guardian monsters, that unlocks the end game. So first area Slimaxim is going to is the Ghostly Theater. He's not actually going to be finishing this right now. This is just kind of a pit stop here to get some very, very useful items that are kind of specific to crazy mode. As far as like a normal any % run wouldn't be doing this. It would be going to the Garden Forgotten by Time first. But for crazy mode, because of the limited item capacity and nerfed stats, it ends up being worth your time to come here first. Like the first important item that Slimaxim got was a heart repair, which just refills your hearts, which your ammunition for special weapons in this game. Like Slimaxim's already using one of the special weapons, the crystal, which is kind of just at its base form is kind of just like a bomb, basically, that you set off, damage enemies around it. But kind of so that's going to be helpful because we can duplicate items. 1 heart repair is going to become 5 soon enough. But kind of our ultimate goal for this visit to the Ghostly Theater here, and he's got a high potion too, which is a better healing item. But our end goal here is actually an accessory called the Aroma Earring, which raises Leon's intelligence stat by 5. In normal mode, that basically is a flat 25% increase for special weapon damage. But in crazy mode, it's even more because of Leon's base intelligence being lower. Like I want to say in crazy mode, it's maybe more like a 40% boost or so. And there's only 1 aroma earring in the game normally, but thanks to item duplication, we can get many more of them. So I think Slimaxim's going to be kind of dual equipping aroma earrings at some points, but they're also going to be really handy for selling for money too, just because there's going to be a point about halfway through the run where Slimaxim is going to need a lot of gold, like around I think 200,000 gold, in order to buy a very special item that in order to be able to buy it, you need to have already beaten the game at least once on crazy mode. It's kind of the it's an item that's meant for victory laps through the game, and I'll leave it at that for now. All right, so got the aroma earrings. So using a memorial ticket to warp back to the hub for the castle and then do another round of item duplication, all of the consumable items, and then also duplicating the aroma earrings. So now it's time to head back to Ronaldo's house to sell off stuff for money.
ちなみにこの増殖なんですけども、防具とか無知も増やせます。ただ無知を増やしすぎるとソフトロックしてゲームが落ちるので注意です。
And those aroma earrings are worth 5,000 gold each, because again, there's only one in the game normally, so letting go of it would be kind of a big deal if you couldn't just duplicate as many as you want. Alright, so just bought a number of other useful items here too. Bought a item called the Sacrificial Doll, which I believe is mostly just going to be for duplicating more of to sell back for more money, but I think it's very late in the game. It's also going to be used for safety too, because if you have one equipped, it's like a re-raise effect where if you die, you'll get a revival. You also got a Jade Mask, which is an accessory that makes it so that normally you have to whip candles or torches to destroy them and get hearts if you aren't full, or money if you are, but with the Jade Mask you can just walk through them and get the rewards. So that just, I mean, again, I think the main value is selling, but there's a couple places when I watched Slimaxim's PB/record that he used the Jade Mask just for kind of making heart pickups a little more efficient too. All right, so now that kind of all that for about the first 9 minutes or so of the run was really just kind of set up as far as doing rounds of item duplication, then making that stop in the Ghostly Theater to get a couple more items. But now we're kind of really getting going with the game proper. So the first area you're kind of intended to go to is called the House of Sacred Remains, which is the teleporter platform that has a like a scroll on it that kind of lures you in. But for speedruns, the first major area that's done is the Garden Forgotten by Time. That's specifically because there's a very, very, very useful accessory called the Jewel Crush. About halfway through this area or so, which the Jewel Crush is the most busted item in the whole game as far as how fast it lets you clear out both mob fights and boss fights. You can kind of see Slimaxim is now just walking through torches to destroy them and pick up the drops thanks to the Jade Mask. I know he threw on the Aroma Earring too to get a special weapon damage boost. But yeah, so anyway, so now we've got some required combat rooms here. There's quite a few of those in this game, where you need to kill all of the monsters in order to open the exit door. This one's kind of a nasty one because of these enemies called Evil Stabbers, which are the enemies with the claws that go underground periodically. So a big part of why he did the Ghostly Theater visit too was to get heart repairs, because at this point, before we have the Jewel Crush, the fastest way to fight mob fights is with sub weapons. Like they're powered up a bit by the Aroma Earrings. Again, like probably about 40-ish% more damage than base. But having 5 heart repairs, I guess technically 4 because you don't want to use the last one, just helps so much with these fights, because he's got the axe sub-weapon. That's something I've always found a little peculiar about this game, though, is that, I mean, you have an inventory system, but the way sub-weapons work is kind of carried over from older Castlevania games, where you can only hold one sub-weapon at a time, and if you pick up a new one, you drop your old one, which I've always found. I mean, I get why, because, I mean, that's the legacy of earlier Castlevania games, but it just feels a little wrong to me in kind of a more Metroidvania type game that has an inventory system like this. But yeah, grabbed an axe from one of the white torches on the way, and it's kind of using that to clear the required mob fights faster. Oh, and then something I didn't mention too that he got in the tutorial room was his first relic. In addition to accessories that just kind of do passive things when you have them equipped, this game also has relics, which are items that consume MP, which is the blue bar in the HUD at the upper left corner, in order to do some kind of special effect. And the first relic that's given to you as part of the game's tutorials is called the Svarog statue, which basically lets you create a trail of fire under your feet. So he's been using that for some of the combat here too, just to do extra damage to certain types of enemies. And then the way you get MP back in this game is kind of interesting too, because there's items that can refill your MP, but the primary way you're intended to do it is actually blocking certain types of enemy attacks with the magic gauntlet given to you by Ronaldo at the very start of the game. Like you notice that like these axe knights that he's fighting right here, sometimes they're glowing purple before they swing, and then if you block a purple enemy attack, then that will refill some of your MP. And if you do what's called a perfect guard, which is where you hit the block button pretty much right as the enemy's about to hit you, then you get more MP along with knocking. I think you have to perfect guard in order to kind of knock back the enemy from it and stun them briefly. Alright, so got another combat room here with some of those evil stabbers. Again, they're kind of obnoxious because they can hide underground. I believe we're closing in on the Jewel Crush. I think there are one or two more combat rooms or so.
魔法なんてものはとてもじゃないけど扱えないということで、先ほどの、増殖して金をくれたリナルドさんに、左手の固定に、呪文を施してもらって、それによってもともと使えなかった魔導器を使えるようになったんですね。敵の攻撃、敵の魔力を逆に集めて利用するみたいな、そういう感じです。ここの部屋のスパルタクス。
Oh yeah, yeah. And then I mean, one thing that
かなり硬くて厄介な敵なんですが。
A thing that makes crazy mode difficult to, in addition to Leon's just having lower stats and reduced heart capacity and stuff, is just that there's more enemies and they're more difficult. Probably the best example is that the tutorial room at the start. The normal game just has weak skeletons in it, but in crazy mode there's like cyclopses and Dullahan knights and stuff, just some like end game type enemies there. Alright, so this got kind of a little light puzzle there where you have to kind of get that flower to move to a certain part of the room and hit it to create a platform to get to this treasure room here. And now the run kind of really begins, because Slimaxim just got and equipped the Jewel Crush, and then the Jewel Crush is a gauntlet that lets you kind of crush jewels in the palm of your hand to do very powerful effects. Like he just used it on a Zircon, which is it's the weakest gem, which just gives you some extra money. But the rest of the types of jewels you can get are all just very, very powerful, have very powerful combat effects. And it's the kind of stuff you're not really intended to be able to just spam indiscriminately, but thanks to the item duplication glitch that again the North American and Japanese versions of the game have, there's going to be a lot of gems broken over here. Like Slimaxim is already starting to use rubies and sapphires, which do AoE damage. Rubies are better because they hit every enemy in the room with you for, I think it's 119 damage, which is a lot. And then sapphires do about roughly half of that, somewhere in the 50s. And they also only hit enemies that you can see on the screen. but they also heal you slightly. So I mean, the rubies are better, but because you're limited on how many of each type of item you can hold, and even more so in crazy mode, even the weaker sapphires are still very useful for clearing out mob fights.
通常モードだと9個持てるんですけど、これもクレイジーモードのせいで5個しか持てなくなってます。
And I guess maybe quick explain what the last two jewels do too. There's also turquoises, which will randomly change your sub weapon. There's a few places in the run where those are going to be useful, but they're also an annoying source of RNG because you have a 25% chance to get the sub weapon that you want. And then the last one is the diamond, which is a it fully refills all of your resources, your HP, MP, and hearts. Alright, so we're coming up on the end of the Garden Forgotten by Time here. Coming up to Medusa, who's our first boss fight fairly soon. Maybe also quick, you know, that circle that's appearing in the lower left corner is actually the one of the equip menus. Some of the equipment changes you can do in this game can only be done live, not from the pause menu. Okay, so this is Medusa. Because it's quite a bit more challenging of a fight in crazy mode because you do so much less damage. But this is a fight that's really about trying to make use of the game's combo system. Like you see on the right side of the screen, it's periodically showing up the number of hits in Leon's combo and total damage, and that's more than for show too, because when you get a combo going between kind of the two different types of whip swings, you can do strong and weep, and then also like sub weapons and jump kicks and other stuff. Every hit in the combo will actually give you a cumulative 5% damage bonus. So like if you get up to 10 hits, you're doing 50% more damage total, and if you like 20 hits, it's double. So I think kind of the main I was reading some speedrun notes for this, and like you could like the optimal strat for Medusa is kind of using this combo with alternating different types of whip swings and the axe, and that's a combo that you could sustain indefinitely if Medusa doesn't interrupt it, which she will. I mean, I think getting up to like 10 hits or so was fairly good luck, but Medusa has an array of annoying ways to interrupt the combo, like trying to turn you to stone, throwing rocks at you, shooting snakes. And I know the worst one is the pinball move, where she kind of rolls her snakes around her and starts pinballing around the room, because you can't really do much to her when she's in that mode. Medusa going flush up against one of the walls is also bad, because then you can't get behind her, which is a safe spot for some of her attacks. Right, but that is Medusa down. That looked like a fairly solid fight to me. I saw some nice combos, and I don't think I saw the pinball move excessively, at least. Alright, so with Medusa's defeat, we get the purple orb. Every time we defeat a major boss, we get a colored orb, which, in addition to being one of the keys to get to Walter's inner sanctum, which is the main antagonist of the game at this point, that the orbs also let us do various types of special attacks with our sub-weapons. And personally, I think that's one of the most fun things about playing this game, casually at least, is because there's effectively 40 different special attacks you can do, like between all of the different combinations of sub-weapons and orbs. So, yeah, so that was our first one. Now we're heading into the Dark Palace of Waterfalls. The Japanese version has slightly different names for a lot of these areas, at least the English text there just said the Labyrinth, but yeah, this is called the Dark Palace of Waterfalls in the English version. So the route completed the Garden Forgotten by Time first because of the Jewel Crush, and the Jewel Crush is kind of far enough into the dungeon that into the area that you might as well just beat Medusa at that point and finish it. Then we're going to the Dark Palace of Waterfalls next, specifically because of the orb that we get for finishing it. Because the next orb we're going to be getting gives us a special attack that's actually very, very good for speeding up basic movement. Yeah, you see Slimaxim bringing up his orb menu in the lower left corner there, like orbs and like armor and accessories. Can only be used in like consumable items. Actually, can only be used from these kind of real-time menus. I'm honestly impressed by seeing speedrunners of this game kind of exercise very good control over these menus, because most of them actually you can only manipulate with the analog stick, which I always find very awkward. I always prefer to use the D-pad for doing menu inputs and games, but that's not an option for a lot of stuff here. So for the Dark Palace of Waterfalls, this is actually going to be done in 3 separate trips, both to minimize backtracking and also to actually skip a mini-boss. So in order to actually get to Joachim Armster, who's another vampire that's was turned into a vampire and then imprisoned by Walter in this part of the castle. He's the last boss here. But in order to get to where he is, there's 2 switches that need to be pulled, and then after each of them, we're going to be memorial ticketing out back to the save room outside. So again, just we're seeing right here just how busted the Jewel Crush is, because all of these combat rooms, he's breaking some rubies to do large amounts of damage to every enemy that's loaded into the room, even if you can't see them on camera. So like at the start of the run when we were doing the fights leading up to the Jewel Crush, those weren't super quick because all we really had were like axes and whip combos. But now that we can break gems, that just tears apart a lot of the combat rooms. So going into kind of a secret area here too, like he had to kind of sit and wait for a suit of armor with a ball and chain to actually break that wall for him. And now we get to I played this game for Halloween this year, and this room is kind of obnoxious because there's some 3D platforming in this game, but it's a 3D game that you do not have any control over the camera for. It's a not really a fixed camera, because the camera does move when you do, but some of the 3D platforming is a little rough when you can't control the camera and get kind of good looks at what you need to do. But yeah, this is kind of a bonus stage here that often reminds me of the bonus stages in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, actually, with kind of going through this pipe with the twists and turns. But this kind of is a bit of a shortcut to get to the second switch room. I watched a straight any percent run as part of preparing for commentating this too, and the last run of this game that was in Games Done Quick didn't do that actually. So I'm kind of curious if that's just a new route for the game in the few years since then for all categories, or if that's something exclusive to Crazy Mode. Because maybe because it's Crazy Mode, doing that mini game is faster than taking the natural route to the second switch, because there's more enemies in Crazy Mode and you can't hold as many rubies and sapphires, so maybe doing that is faster when you have less resources to use. But using the memorial ticket to get out after the second switch actually skips a mini boss, because there's an evil doppelganger of Leon that you're normally supposed to fight in the Dark Palace of Waterfalls, but if you memorial ticket after hitting the second switch, you can skip doppelganger. I mean, we'll be seeing doppelganger later in the game, because there's normally 2 fights, but there's only one in
日
speedruns.
本人から口の悪い日本人
Alright, so now that
弱い
both of the switches have been pulled,
弱いの意味
now
は
we're
弱い
now we're
人
just
だから
heading for
まあ残
Joachim's
念ながら
boss
RTA
arena.
でも弱い
Doing just a
という
quick
ことはなく
jump up here to get a heart capacity upgrade. There's upgrades for HP, MP, and hearts,
火力も
most of which are not picked up in speedruns because they're out of the way, but that heart up is
この弱い日の件がそれです
just a double jump along the route you take to the boss arena, so
これもまあ
might as well pick it up.
トラックが変なってなったらそれはクレイジーモードのせいです
Then Joachim is one of my favorite bosses in this game, casually at least, because it's a kind of a neat design fight for a game like this, where basically he has four kind of swords that he controls through telekinesis. But yeah, this fight is fairly tough to do fast in speedruns, so
ここの扉の前に水が
Slimaxim is starting off by using a ruby to break these light orbs around the room that power a shield that Joachim has. That lets and then just kind of wailing away with combos and more gems. In normal any percent, it's possible to one cycle Joachim if you get very good luck with what he does after you break his shield. I don't know. I'm kind of doubtful that that's possible to do in crazy mode because you just don't do damage as fast. But I'm seeing a lot of damage coming out before the shield comes back. So
でこのヨアヒムは隅に
yeah, a little unfortunate that Slimaxim is having to manually bust the light orbs because if you have more rubies allocated for it, you can use that to break the orbs again. We're also I guess we're also kind of seeing one of our first usages of the purple orb too. All right, that looked pretty solid. I mean,
またこの
again, it would have been nice if Slimaxim didn't have to walk across the room to whip the light orbs to bust the shield again, but that's not something you always have total control over. Not really sure why he's watching the cutscene, because you can skip all cutscenes in this game, but maybe he wants to show off part of the story for the audience or something. But yeah, so what's happening here really is just that Joachim is, before he dies, is giving Leon some more information about Walter, about kind of the power of Walter. That Walter has something called the Ebony Stone, which I think the in-game lore is that he makes him beloved of the night, so that he can't be hurt by normal means, and then the sun never rises in his in the forest where his castle is. But and that there's also a thing called the Crimson Stone, which Joachim wanted as a means to try to overthrow Walter. Like the Crimson Stone is something that I think all he really tells you just is that it's something that has great power. All right, but that's 2 of the 5 initial castle areas down, and with Joachim's defeat, we get the green orb. And the green orb was the main reason for doing the Dark Palace of Waterfalls second. Like we did the Garden Forgotten by Time first to get the Jewel Crush, and then the green orb is the next most important thing. But now we head back to Ronaldo's shop and are just selling off kind of all but one of the items that we need to get a bunch of money. Like and I think it's relatively soon at this point. Okay, yeah, I think it's right now, actually. We want to get 200,000 gold, which is a lot of money to get legitimately, but with item duplication, both it's routed kind of optimally enough so that there's only really kind of one special trip I think that has to be made here just to sell stuff for money. At least for at this point in the run, like other than that, Slimaxim has just been selling off stuff at other kind of times that he's been teleporting naturally. So I think we're going to see one more round of duplication here. I noticed Slimaxim was also breaking Zircons a few times too, which just give you a randomly determined amount of money to get some extra cash too. So I believe this, this should be our last time needing to just come back to Ronaldo's shop just to sell stuff as part of what we're about to do here. So once we have 200,000 gold, we can actually buy an item that's only sold here if you've beaten the game on crazy mode, and that is the Mobius brooch, which is kind of the ultimate accessory in this game. The Mobius brooch gives you infinite hearts. Just when you have it equipped, using special weapons or special attacks does not consume any hearts. So that times very, very nicely with having just picked up the green orb, because with the axe, which is kind of the star sub-weapon of the speedrun, and the green orb, we have a special ability called High Speed Edge, which is where Leon kind of charges forward with a big axe blade. And High Speed Edge increases your movement speed by about 50% or so. So we're starting to see it in action here. And yeah, so High Speed Edge is going to save a lot of time in this kind of about the second half of the run just on movement. And thanks to the Mobius brooch, Slimaxim can just kind of spam it indiscriminately, along with this tornado attack that you have if you use the purple orb with the axe. Like I saw that getting used on Joachim a few times too. This looks very nice for mob fights when you don't have jewels to break. All right, so the next part of the castle we're going to is the Anti-Soul Mysteries Lab. The main reason we're coming here is for a key that's going to be picked up I think a little over halfway through the area. And that's a key that'll open a locked door in the fourth area that we'll be going to get a pretty useful relic. Yeah, I have to say, one thing I really appreciate about Crazy Mode from having watched Slimaxim's PB as part of preparing for this too, is just kind of the combat strategies that are used are a fair bit more diverse than in a normal 80% run, because in particular because you're a lot more limited in how many jewels you can hold at once. So you can only hold 5 of each kind of item instead of 9 in crazy mode. So that kind of forces having to use different strategies for a lot of forced fights versus just breaking rubies and sapphires, which is by far the fastest way to dispose of most enemies in this game. Because again, those two types of gems just do damage to enemies that are around you. Yeah, I'm always impressed too by just seeing the high speed edge just used effectively too, because you're kind of locked in place when you use it. So it's something that I'm sure it takes a fair bit of practice to actually aim your high-speed edges at where they need to go, especially when because when you're high-speed edging into a door, you can open the door before that kind of the cooldown from the high-speed edge animation finishes, but you have to kind of throw yourself into the door from the right angle to be able to do that. All right, so Slimaxim just picked up the yellow dragon key, which it's kind of the primary reason for coming to this area at this point in the run. Again, that's going to open a locked door in the House of Sacred Remains, which is the fourth area we're going to. Then, before we actually go to the boss room, we need to pick up a story item called the E tablet, because it's got some kind of neat lore here too, where the boss of the Anti-Soul Mysteries Lab is a golem, but the but Konami worked in a little bit of lore from, I believe it's Jewish or Hebrew mythology, that the way a golem comes to life is by having the word. I have no idea how to pronounce it correctly in Hebrew, but I'll just say emeth needs to be carved into the golem's face. But the difference between emeth, which means life, and beth, which means death, is the letter E. So in order to make the golem come to life, you need to put an E to turn meth into emeth, which has some kind of neat lore there for a game like this. So yeah, with the E tablet in hand, just need to head for the boss arena now. There's so many, just seeing waltzing past all of these dull hand knights, which are an endgame type enemy. Fortunately, don't have to fight all of them. Alright, so this now, Golem is kind of unique among the first 5 bosses as far as having 2 phases, and also unique as far as having a very, very effective cheese strat that we'll be seeing here. This is why Slimaxim picked up the cross, even though that nerfs Leon's movement speed a bit, because you can't use high speed edge. Having the cross lets you use, with the green orb, lets you use this attack called Holy Light. And when you use certain types of special attacks on the golem, it goes into this kind of guard animation like this. But combining the Holy Light with whip combos, you can get the golem into this loop, and it doesn't really do anything in its first phase. Alright, so then that was Golem Phase 1. Golem Phase 2, using the purple orb with the cross to use an attack called Michael's Sword, which it's just a really high damage attack, because I think the Golem is weak to the cross sub-weapon type. And just combining Michael's Sword with some whip combos makes fairly short work of the Golem's second phase. Alright, pretty solid looking golem fight. Alright, with the golem defeated, we get the red orb. The remaining orbs we're going to be getting aren't quite as game-changing as the first few, but I think all of them are maybe not all of them, but most of them yeah, I think all 5 of them are used, at least briefly. Just checking some notes I took on the sub-weapons. Alright, so now we're doing the Cathedral of Resonance, or the House of Sacred Remains, it's called in the English version, which is kind of intended to be the first area you go to when you play the game. I believe it's also the longest of the 5 initial areas in the castle by a fair bit. It has 2 fairly large floors, and then some switches you need to hit in order to open locked doors. And then, so first thing we need to do here is actually hit 3 switches to open the door to the basement area, which is where the boss is. We're also eventually going to be putting that yellow dragon key to use that we picked up in the Anti-Soul Mysteries lab in order to get a fairly nice relic later on. Yes, there's our first switch hit there. Using the high-speed edge skill that's gives the axe with the green orb. Actually, I think something I missed explaining too is turquoises. I explained what turquoises do earlier as far as letting you roll for a new sub-weapon, but I think the first time that Slimaxim used them was after defeating the Golem, because we want the cross for the Golem fight because of just how effective it is on both phases of the Golem, but then after beating the Golem, we want to get back to the cross to be able to use high-speed edge again for faster movement. So I think after that was the kind of the first opportunity to either get lucky or unlucky with using turquoises, because when you use a turquoise, it randomly changes you to a sub weapon you don't have, and since there's five sub weapons, axe, cross, knife, crystal, and holy water. That means that you have a 25% chance to get the sub-weapon that you want when you use a turquoise. Not getting it quickly is annoying, but it's not really a run-ender. Because we have the power of item duplication, so if like I know the optimal outcome is to get the axe while the golem is falling apart, because you're just sitting and waiting for the death animation at that point. But if you don't get the axe after 4 turquoises, then you have to you duplicate more and just keep doing so until you get the axe. Yeah, the RNG with the turquoises is a little bit bigger of a problem in crazy mode, because you can only hold 5 turquoises instead of 9 like in normal mode. So there's definitely less risk taking there, especially in a marathon run like this. Like I know there's a couple places where like actually if you're trying to really do risk reward strats to really try to get an optimized time, one thing you could do was to try to use the turquoise to get the cross for Golem instead of just picking up the cross from a torch, because if you were to do that, you'd be able to high speed edge through a couple more screens on your way to the Golem, but then there'd be that possibility of not getting the weapon you want. ランダムなので、できるだけまとまって出てきてほしいんですけども、まあ今回ちょっと悪いな。70点くらい、50点くらい。So yeah, just clearing out more mob fights as we go here, using the power of the Mobius brooch, and the aroma earring, and the aroma earring raises Leon's intelligence stat and sub-weapon damage. Like I want to say in crazy mode it's about 40% or so, which is more than in normal mode because of Leon's base stats being nerfed. And then the Mobius brooch makes it so that using special weapons doesn't consume hearts. Like the Mobius brooch isn't picked up in normal runs because you can hold a lot more hearts and diamonds, which refill your hearts. So it's not worth the extra item duplication rounds and stuff to get the large amount of money to afford the Mobius brooch. But in crazy mode, it's worth it. Alright, so there's the last of the door switches. There's actually a second set of these switches, as I recall, in a different part of this area, but that's optional. Like only the first set is actually required to get to the boss. Some kind of scary trap rooms in this area too. Like there's the that room with the spiked floors that chase you around, and then that alien red room. That one has the floor actually attacks you if you stand still for too long. So you kind of need to be jumping a lot in order to avoid getting damaged. Okay, so we're seeing our first usage. I believe only skill we're going to be using with the red orb here that we got from the last boss, Golem. this lets us do a spiral axe here. Like I think for mob fights like this, where there's just large numbers of weaker enemies that are spawning kind of in all corners of the room, it's a bit faster to use that spiral axe skill instead of the tornado to take out the skeletons a bit faster. Okay, so now we've got, this is a little bit of an obnoxious platforming segment here, where you have to hit that switch, and then you have a time limit to make it to the door before you lose your opportunity and have to hit the switch again. Okay, and got it first try, easy peasy. When I last played this, I just found getting through that room a bit obnoxious because of the fixed camera. That get angling my jumps the right way to kind of get up to where the whip grapple points are. Took a few tries.
一番早くやって8秒くらい短縮ですが、それは最初に1回の挑戦で一発成功した時のみであり、ぶっちゃけ微妙です。それと火ダメも上がってるので。
Almost done with this place once we're past that electric wall platforming area. There's only a couple more combat rooms left before we get to Undead Parasite, who's the boss here. Yeah, I definitely agree. Alice Napalm. Like I said, I have a tradition where I play a Castlevania game for Halloween every year, and this year I actually played this one, and the platforming rooms were probably the most annoying part of the game, to be honest, for me at least, because of not being able to move the camera into more favorable places. Alright, well, we are at Undead Parasite now. This is probably the boss where the strategy between any percent and any percent crazy is the most different, because like any percent is actually uses the turquoises to get a holy water and uses some holy water skills on this boss, but I guess I don't know if it's because of the stat differences or not wanting to take the risk of not actually getting the holy water, but Slimaxim is using axe skills instead, so you need to take out kind of 4 targets around the side in order to get the actual boss, which is, I guess, the brain of the undead parasite, to spawn in the middle. And there's some kind of annoying RNG with this fight too, as far as that worm that's moving around the room, which isn't totally invincible. It's just there to annoy you while you're fighting the real boss, along with all these zombies spawning.
で、これでメインコアが出現するんですけども、とりあえず
Alright, nice. Pretty solid 2-cycle kill there. Imagine 2-cycle is about as fast as you can do this with this strategy on crazy mode. Yeah, I love this game too. I mean, it kind of shows its age a little bit. I mean, it's 22 years old at this point. It was released in 2003, and it's one of Konami's earlier attempts at a 3D Castlevania game. But I mean, I think it holds up decently well, as long as you're just kind of okay with some of the aged things, like the fixed camera and the analog only menus. Like I like the look and style of the game. I love the soundtrack too. Like the soundtrack to this game was done by Michiru Yamane, who's probably best known as the composer for Castlevania Symphony of the Night, but she has done a lot of Castlevania soundtracks and does very good work with them. Like, I know something kind of neat about the soundtrack for this game is that there's very few remixes, because most Castlevania games have remixes of music from the early Castlevania games, like Vampire Killer, Bloody Tears, and so on. But there's very little of that in this game for story reasons, because this game was kind of meant to be a prequel / reboot that goes back to the very beginning of the war between the Belmont family and Count Dracula.
こちらは本校で
We don't who we haven't even heard of yet, by the way. Too, we're here to fight Walter. There's no Dracula yet, but we'll get there soon enough.
ちゃんと画面内に入れることが重要です。
So we're now back in the ghostly theater,
画面外に出てきた
where we came here briefly at the start of the game in order to get the heart repair and the aroma earring to help with other combat. But now we're coming here to actually finish off the boss here, the succubus.
最初の手入れ
So the ghostly theater actually is kind of an interesting design in that the boss arena is actually very close to the start, but there's an item you need called the curtain time bell in order to
左スティックを斜め入力しながら三角
actually activate the boss. Oh yeah, one thing I kind of glossed over in the House of Sacred Remains too was that Slimaxim used the Yellow Dragon key picked up at the Anti-Soul Mysteries Lab to get a relic called the Black Bishop. There's only 2 relics used in this run, the Svarog statue that's kind of given to you at the start as part of the tutorials, and then the little minor detour to get the Black Bishop, which is very, very useful because that just flat out buffs your damage output. I'm blanking by how much exactly, but I want to say it's 50% or more. So it's very significant as far as the amount of extra damage that you do, and it's going to be very, very helpful for the final boss, especially too. Like I know for any percent runs that aren't crazy mode, the amount of time that having the Black Bishop saves on the final boss alone justifies the detouring to get it, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's even more on crazy mode because of Leon having reduced stats. But relics burn MP when you use them. So that's you can't just kind of spam it indiscriminately. You need to kind of turn the Black Bishop on and off when you actually need the damage bonus. Then the ways you get MP back are either blocking attacks by enemies when they glow purple, or using either mana prisms or diamonds. I don't think we actually get mana prisms at all in this run, but we have diamonds, which, in addition to MP, also refill all your health and hearts. You break them with the Jewel Crush, so that's kind of a big part of the route optimization, is kind of when to use the diamonds. But having the Mobius brooch to get infinite hearts really helps the diamonds go further too.
なかなか厄介ですね。で、この後2階に進んでいきます。で、今度も釣り天井のエリアなんですけど、
Some more mob fights here.
ちゃんと落ちてきます。
I haven't actually done a crazy mode playthrough myself, but just from watching these runs and kind of thinking back to my my last playthrough, this just feels like there's just so many more enemies having to be fought here. Alright, so we get the curtain time bell there. I was kind of waiting to see if Slimaxim fell off the platforms here, because okay, because the sound effect for Leon screaming if he falls off into the pits there is just incredible.
で、ここで落ちると、まあ普段冷静なレオンさんが凄まじい雄たけびを上げて落ちてくるんですけども、落ちるかな？あ、落ちなかった。落ちなかったのでちょっともう一回出入りしてちょっと聞いてもらいます。
Alright, so at this point, just need to head back to the, to kind of near the start of the area. I believe thanks to being able to jump off ledges and get back to the kind of the first floor of the theater, it works out to be faster to just walk back here than to use a memorial ticket.
で、今見てもらった通り、このフォースキャノンという、まあ、
Oh, we did hear. Yeah, I'm not really able to hear the audio great for the game through the setup here, so I'm glad to hear that we heard the scream, because it's pretty special. Alright, so Slimaxim picked up a dagger, a sub-weapon we haven't otherwise seen yet. The dagger is normally a pretty wimpy weapon in a lot of Castlevania games, but it is very good in this one, in particular for this skill. Slimaxim is going to be using called Force Cannon. So one of Succubus's weaknesses is the dagger sub-weapon type, and just this Force Cannon skill we're using right here is just so effective at just taking her out quickly.
このサキュバスというボス、なかなか厄介でして、サブウェポンを、ゴーレムのようにガードしてくるんですよね。ただ、
we needed to ring that bell repeatedly in order to summon Succubus, by the way, too. That's why kind of heard the clang, clang, clang sound when Slimaxim was starting to approach the boss arena. A little bit of trolling here as far as Succubus going out of reach and dodging some of the shots. That's why having infinite hearts is certainly helpful here. Alright, but we got her. And we get the yellow orb, which is the last orb that that Slimaxim is going to be actually picking up. There's actually 2 more orbs that are optional. There's the white orb that I believe is in a hidden part of the Anti-Soul Mysteries Lab. And then there's the black orb, which requires defeating this game's super boss called the Forgotten One. And the white and black orbs just give you more fun special attacks to do.
助かりました。で、こちらのイエローオーブを取ったら、
Alright, so
最初のステージ全クリ
with the 5 guardian monsters defeated and the 5 required orbs collected, we're now actually able to break a seal that leads to the final part of Walter's castle called the Pagoda of the Misty Moon. We'll be going up here very, very briefly before needing to leave for story reasons, because not really a whole lot's been honestly happening in the story at this point, other than like meeting Joachim and then some dialogue that happens with Succubus. But a lot of stuff just happened in the cutscenes that Slimaxim just skipped, where Leon meets Walter for the first time, who again, Walter kidnapped Leon's fiancée Sarah, and well, we meet Walter, and who gives us Sarah back, but then we find out that Walter bit Sarah, and which is causing her to gradually turn into a vampire herself. And then there were some conversations we had with Ronaldo earlier, where he said that there's a way to make the whip of alchemy that he gave Leon have the power to defeat vampires, but it's not good because it requires sacrificing someone with a cursed soul as part of a ritual to unlock the full power of the whip. So in the cutscenes there, Sarah kind of offered to sacrifice herself to give Leon the strength to defeat Walter once and for all. And then that makes the whip of alchemy into the vampire killer, which is the whip that the Belmont family uses after this in their generations-long struggle against vampires and Count Dracula. So now we get to fight the doppelganger, who's very, very upset that we skipped him in the Dark Palace of Waterfalls via some trickery with memorial tickets, but the second doppelganger is not skippable. So for this fight, Slimaxim is using the crystal sub-weapon that was picked up just outside here with the yellow orb, which does a special attack called Satellite, which doesn't really do a lot of damage itself, but it kind of helps keep the doppelganger staggered and stun-locked and not really able to easily do stuff. The name of the game here is really just using the satellite to keep hitting the doppelganger to keep it off balance while you use your newly obtained vampire killer whip to kind of do your real damage. Yeah, the doppelganger can use your own special attacks against you. Like that was the holy water special that's used against undead parasite in any percent runs. Pretty good luck there. Slimaxim used some turquoises to roll to get the axe back, because the axe with the green orb let you do high speed edge, which is the fastest form of movement in the game. Increases your movement speed by about 50%. Rolling for sub weapons is one of the most annoying sources of RNG in the run. Like I'd say like boss patterns are a thing. Like a lot of the bosses in this game have quick kills that are only possible to do if they give you specific attack patterns, but turquoise sub weapon swaps are another kind of annoying way to lose time from bad luck. All right, and then it's been a little while since we've actually done item duplication, but I'll just explain it again. Where there's certain hallways in the castle where if you just stand in a specific spot and then go into your inventory menu, if you pass the cursor over an item, you can you'll just get another copy of it, and that's believed to just be some kind of debug code that Konami forgot to remove from the game before they released it, because it's doable in the Japanese and North American versions of Lament of Innocence, but not the European PAL version, so it did eventually get fixed. So Slimaxim just used the glitch again in one of the points in the pagoda of the Misty Moon that it works in to get some more, and then for the first time since like an hour ago saved the game. That's to actually change the point for the memorial ticket, because the memorial ticket will just warp you back to the last save point that you saved your game at. There's some backtracking that's required here as part of getting some story items needed to reach Walter's throne room, and having a fast travel point with the memorial tickets here cuts out a decent chunk of backtracking. I mean, we're not leaving this place too. We're here to finish the job. So we don't really care about being able to teleport back to the castle hub anymore.
幅広く存在していますので、またこのぬいぐるみマスコットは今回が最終ロットとなっているため、どうしても欲しいという方は今回での購入を
when we get to the top floor to where we're at too is where we get Leon's theme in the soundtrack too, which is definitely a banger. で今流れてる曲なんですけども I think my personal favorite is the Dark Palace of Waterfalls theme, just because I like the instrumentation and kind of the irregular beat it has. But Leon's theme is a good one. And yeah, see the comment in chat about the sub-weapon variety. That's something I really appreciate about this run in Crazy Mode too, because since in Crazy Mode you're capped at 5 items instead of 9, that reduces your ability to spam rubies and sapphires with the Jewel Crush to quick kill, in particular just mob fight rooms. So there's a lot of other creative strategies that are used with various types of sub-weapons to and with the infinite heart powers of the Mobius Brooch to clear all these combats fast with fewer resources. Alright, so we had first item needed to be picked up was a tablet that has a Roman numeral 6 on it, and apparently Leon isn't smart enough to just flip it over to make a 4, which is needed for a puzzle. So you actually need to put the tablet on this contraption in order to flip it around for you. But yeah, there's a sequence of 1 through 5 in Roman numerals, and there's a missing spot for 4. So we need to get the 6, flip it into a 4, and then that will open a door to the, I believe it's called the Dragon Crest, which is basically the key to Walter's throne room. So it's the last story item we need in order to finish the game.
タイトルに差があることが多いシリーズなのですが、なんでキャッスルバニアじゃないのかという話をいたしますと、まず初代悪魔城が普通にキャッスルバニアなんですよね。FC ファミコンのゲームが普通にキャッスルバニアで、なぜか悪魔城黙示録という録音のゲームなんですけども、3D 悪魔城の前身ですね。 そちらがなぜか悪魔キャッスルバニア過去 N60
think this might be our last round of item duplication here. Just duplicating all of the combat items that we need for the last 2 boss fights. So this is that puzzle with needing to acquire a Roman numeral 4 in order to get the 1 through 5 in order there.
装飾ポイントあるので使わせてもらいます。で、こちらに先
There's our Dragon Crest.
6の石板をひっくり返して4にしたんです。
Use the memorial ticket to warp back to the save point.
ひっくり返して自分でやればよかったんじゃないかとか。
I'm guessing this is actually this is probably an actual safety save that Slimaxim is doing here in case of any problems with the last bosses.
で、このドラゴンクレストというアイテムを入手したらメモリアルチケットで帰ります。で、一応ちょっと怖いので。
Alright, so we've got last 2 boss fights starting here. First one is Walter. I guess we'll see if Slimaxim does anything fun with showing off the cutscene beforehand, which is certainly a fan favorite. We're in English at least. Leon declares that he will kill. I'll defeat you, or no, it's I'll kill you and the knight. Okay, we're not killing Walter and the knight metaphorically, at least. We're doing it for real. All right, so got the Walter fight here. Wow, that was a very good first cycle. I mean, I know in non-crazy mode it's possible to 1-cycle Walter if he doesn't teleport right at the start of the fight. So that looked like a pretty solid pattern there. And, nice, there we go. Yeah, Slimaxim is using attack called Spirit Ripper with the axe and the yellow orb as part of just getting additional combo hits to raise the damage multiplier. And then, for the first time in Castlevania history, the final boss is not Dracula, it is Death. The Grim Reaper, who's tired of being second fiddle to Dracula and gets to actually be the final boss in this game. I guess there were a bunch of cutscenes that were skipped where we kind of found out that the kidnapping of Sarah was all a plot by Leon's quote-unquote best friend, Matthias, in order to... Matthias had the Crimson Stone that Joachim was talking about and wanted to use it to steal Walter's soul to let him become a vampire himself. And he wants to become a vampire to punish God, I think is what he says he wants to do for taking away his wife. And then sub-weapons don't really work on Death, so we're just fighting with the Vampire Killer Whip and using High Speed Edge for mobility. And then when Death is below half health, he starts using an attack called Deadly Tempest, which is even more dangerous on Crazy Mode because he does it 4 times instead of 2. So, kind of the name of the game here is just doing whip combos powered up by the Black Bishop relic to get damage, and then just try to not die to Deadly Tempest. We were hoping to see minions a lot in the first phase of the fight. That's going to Death's least dangerous attack. But yeah, we're coming up on the end here. Times when Death's health bar hits 0. And then, then Matthias basically just kind of left with Walter's soul, then said that Leon belongs to Death now. And then Death is the final boss, and GG! That Slimaxim's PB is a 109, so 111 is a very, very solid time for a marathon run. I think that's still considerably faster than anybody else's PB on the leaderboard too. Definitely shows how good Slimaxim is at this very, very difficult run. I mean, it's kind of hard to understate that this whole run was done on the hardest difficulty of this game. That nerfs your combat abilities and resources pretty substantially. So had to use a lot more different strategies, but also just be better at the game to get through it too. Because I mean, because of your nerf stats, you die a lot more easily if you actually get hit. Oh yeah, I mean when I last played this casually, I mean the death fight was a struggle for me because again you can't sub weapons, which are the main way to do damage, large amounts of damage outside of breaking gems, just don't work on death. I think he actually counterattacks if you try. So that is basically it for Castlevania Lament of Innocence, or just Castlevania as it's called in Japan because of being a kind of prequel / reboot on crazy difficulty. Yeah, if Slimaxim actually shows the end screen after skipping like the ending and stuff, you get a pretty fun congratulatory screen that says, "Thank you for playing. You are the crazy of Castlevania." It still says that even on the English version.
2024年の RIJ にて行われたドミナスコレクションの3部作リレーの際に、悪魔城シリーズに長く携わってきた修太郎さんという方がいらっしゃるんですけども、その方に応援のコールを送ったことは皆様にも記憶に新しいことと存じます。で、その修太郎さんは現在も癌による闘病生活を続けており、まだ残念ながら回復とは至っておりません。
And shoutouts to Koji Igarashi, who was the producer for this game, who was the brains behind the Castlevania series in the late 90s through like the early 2010s or so.
チャット欄の皆さんお願いします。はい、せーの、いかーい。そして次に修太郎さんが来ます。修太郎さんのコールをお願いします。エネミープログラム、ここです。エネミープログラム来たら修太郎です。せーの、修太郎ということで、会場の皆様は声をお出しすることができないと思うんですけれども、
I guess if this game looked fun to anybody that hasn't played it, I definitely recommend it. Like I said, it's over 20 years old. So there's a few things that haven't aged the greatest, in particular the lack of camera controls. But the parts of the game that are a little obnoxious because of that aren't that bad. I mean, like there aren't platforming segments that are really punishing to make mistakes in, and they're pretty generous. And again, it's got just an absolutely stellar soundtrack, and I think the experimenting with the 40 different sub-weapon combos that you can use is pretty fun. I think unfortunately I don't think it's really super easy to play this game on modern hardware. Like it's not on PC or Steam or anything. Like I think the newest hardware you can play it on is the PlayStation 3, because this was originally a PS2 game.
またこれで打足になってしまうんですけれども、最後に IGT の記録を見てからお別れといきたいと思います。
I just played my PS2 disc because I have one. Oh yeah, and then Slimaxim, I guess, is checking in-game time too, just because the the community I know uses the in-game timer for speedruns of this game, because it pauses during loads. That helps normalize speedruns between different ways to play it, like PS2, PS3, or emulation. They all have different loading times, but that's not factored into the in-game time, so that's a nice thing for leveling the playing field for speedruns.
So 1 hour for that.
Yeah, I'm just checking what Slimaxim's PB actually is.
ワールドレコードをしたということで世界一なんですけども、誰かやってください。お願いします。ということで、
It looks like it's 109.31 real time, 55.43 in-game time. I'm guessing the in-game time was inflated a little bit by not skipping all of the cutscenes really fast. But yeah, again, that just going by real time, that was a very, very good run. Like less than 2 minutes behind PB in a marathon at a game on the hardest difficulty is certainly something to respect.
Well, thank you so much for walking us through that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And, any shout outs that you have before we let you go?
I think I already gave them.
Yep.
And mostly just shouting out the game and the people that made it. All of whom did a bang up job.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You are watching RTA in Japan Winter 2025, the English Restream. We've got more coming up. We're going to take a quick break. Don't close that tab.